Okay, so we're on page 210 in your book. We're looking at number 1. Page 210 in your book, and we're looking at number 1. Okay, so first thing they have is to tell the degree of the equation. So you have 4x to the third y squared. So to find out what degree it is, you're going to add up the total on your exponents. To find the degree, you're going to add the total of your exponents. So you have a 3 on this and a 2 on this. So that means that this would be a 5th degree. Let me show you something that some of you get confused by. If they had this, so this is not in your book, I'm going to give you this because this would be something somebody would miss. If they have this 4x y squared z to the third, if I want to find the degree, you need to add the exponent on any of your variables that don't have it. So you need to add that 1 there. So this would be 6th degree. Any questions on determining the degree? Okay, look at number 2. In number 2, you have x to the 4th plus 3. So the only exponent I have is right here, that 4. So this is a 4th degree. Okay, the next one asks you, is it a linear, quadratic, cubic, or quartic? And I'm going to write down how you're going to know that.
Have we even done that yet?
Yeah, it was way back at the beginning. So linear, you're going to have, the highest thing you're going to have is an x term. For quadratic, you're going to have an x squared. For cubic, you're going to have an x to the third. And for quartic, you're going to have an x to the 4th. It's really not hard to, as long as you learn these, and they're going to give you these words. So if you just learn quadratic, x squared, cubic, x cubed, quartic, x to the 4th. So for this one, they have x squared plus 4x plus 10. So if it's an x squared is my highest, that would make this a quadratic. Okay, if I had x to the third plus 7, what would that be? Oops, x to the third plus 7, what would that be? Cubic. If I have 2x, what would that be? Linear. So all you're doing is you're looking at the highest exponent and then using those rules right there. Any questions on these? Pretty straightforward. Okay, looking at number 4. Okay, most of you don't have problems with the ones like number 4, so I'm going to go through this one pretty quickly. Don't forget that if you want extra credit on your test, this must be all done. Not partially done, all done. Okay, so any of these, I would suggest the first thing that you do is you change your signs. So I'm going to do plus a negative, plus a negative. And then if there's a plus sign between both of them, then you're going to drop your parentheses and add your like terms. So this is going to become 6x squared plus negative 7x plus 2x squared plus negative 7x. I just dropped my parentheses. Now I'm going to look for what's alike. So I have 6x squared. Is there anything else like that? 2x squared. 6 plus 2 is 8x squared. And then you have the negative 7x and the negative 7x, which gives you negative 14x. Any questions on that one? Okay, number 5. Now, number 5 is very similar. The only difference is that you have a subtraction sign. So you've got 6x squared plus 5 minus 7x squared plus 9x. Now, when you have subtraction, now if there was a subtraction sign, you need to go ahead and change that inside of my parentheses. But when there's a subtraction sign in front of that parentheses, you're going to make that a plus, and you're going to change everything on the inside to its opposite. So this is going to become negative, and this is going to become negative. And then you're going to drop those parentheses. And then you're going to add your like terms. So I have 6x squared plus negative 7x squared is negative 1x squared, because these two are alike. I don't have anything like that x term, so I'm just going to write it down. And I don't have any whole numbers, so I'm just going to write that down. Anybody have a question about what to do here? Okay.
All you do is you just drop the parentheses and then add together.
Well, on this one, we had a subtraction sign, so we had to change our signs first, and then we dropped our parentheses. If you have a subtraction sign, you have to first change your signs, and then you drop your parentheses. Okay. On number 6, you have negative 7 x to the 5th y times 8 x y squared. The rule is that when I'm multiplying variables, I add their exponents. The rule is when I'm multiplying variables, I add their exponents. Okay, so first, you're going to multiply your coefficients. So you do negative 7 times 8. Now, any of my variables, let me move this up so we can see it. Any of my variables that don't have an exponent, I'm going to give them an exponent of 1. So I'm going to make that a 1 and that a 1. Then you're going to add the exponents on your x. 5 plus 1 is 6. 1 plus 2 is 3. So negative 56 x to the 6 y to the 3rd. Okay, I'm going to give you one more example of this. What if I had 9x to the 3rd y z to the 5th x to the 6th z. Okay, again, your rule is first, you give anything that doesn't have an exponent of 1. So 1 here and a 1 here. If I had another coefficient, I would multiply it. I don't, so I'm just write it down. I'll do 3 plus 6 is 9. Don't have another y, so that'll just be a y to the 1st, or you can just write y. And then 5 plus 1 is 6, so that's z to the 6th. Number 7. In number 7, I have 77 x to the 8th over 7 x to the 12th. Okay, when it's written like a fraction like that, that means divide. So when I'm dividing, I subtract my exponents. So I'm going to first divide my coefficients. So I'm going to do 77 divided by 7 is 11. And then I'm going to subtract these. So it's going to be 8 minus 12. 8 minus 12 is going to give me negative 4. Now, if I was supposed to make that positive, how would I make that exponent positive here? How do you make your exponents positive? Yep, we move them to the denominator. So it would become 11 over x to the 4th. So I can make it positive by moving it to the denominator. Let's do one more like this. If I have x to the 7th, y to the 3rd, over x to the 4th, y to the 6th. You're going to subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then you're going to do 3 minus 6 is negative 3. If I want to make that positive, I'm just going to move it to the denominator, and it'll become positive. Any questions? Okay, number 8. There's a few of these that'll be pretty quick.
How many questions are on the quiz?
There are 16. Well, there might be 20 because I'm going to add some extra ones because I've added extra problems in here as I'm going. Yes. Number 8. You have x squared raised to the 6. The rule is when I have powers raised to powers or exponents that are raised to another exponent, I'm going to multiply. So you would do 2 times 6, and you would get 12. And that's all you do for that one. Now look at number 9. In number 9, this negative is not affected by my exponent because it's not inside the parentheses. So you're just going to copy the negative down. I'll show you one where the negative does affect it in just a second. But because this negative is outside of my parentheses, it doesn't affect it. So I'm going to bring the negative down, and then I'm going to do 9 times 2, which is going to give me 18. So this is going to be b to the 18th. Okay, now number 10 is affected by my exponent. Okay, so I'm going to give this an exponent because otherwise I might forget it. So I'm going to go ahead and give that 7 an exponent of 1. Now, whenever the negative is inside the parentheses, I look at my exponent, and if it is an even number, my answer is going to be positive. If it's an odd number, my answer is going to be negative. So the 2 here means that this answer is going to be positive. And then I do 1 times 2, so that becomes 7 squared. 3 times 2, so that becomes a to the 6. 7 squared is 49, so that's 49 a to the 6. Like these, you should be able to fly through pretty quickly tomorrow. This test should not take as long as that last test y'all took. Number 11, we've taken quizzes over this too. Powers, raise the powers, raise the powers. We're going to multiply them. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So this becomes x to the 16th. (49) a to the 6, because it's 7 squared, which is 49. And then we did 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Number 12, I have x to the third over y to the third raised to the second. Now, it doesn't matter that the 2 is up here at the top because it goes to the top and the bottom. That's the trick on this one. You got to remember that the 2 goes here and here. Okay, so all you're going to do is 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. So it's x to the 6 over y to the 6. Number 13. Of negative 2 x squared times x squared plus 4x minus 2. Now, we did this stuff pretty much at the beginning of the year. You just have to deal with your exponents this time. Okay. I think this actually threw a few of you off. So change your signs. If you need to add a coefficient to that, I'm going to put a 1 there because I'm going to teach you to do the same thing each time. One more time. So you do negative 2 times 1. So I do coefficient times coefficient. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And then since we're multiplying, I add these two exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4. So that's x to the fourth. Now you're going to do your second term. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. 2 plus 1 is 3. So that becomes x to the third. And then I do my last one. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. I don't have an x term on this one, so I'm just going to write down x squared. Number 14. Everybody got this down? Number 14. Negative 9x plus 8 times x plus 9. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can do the FOIL on this one because there's only 4 terms. You can do your first, outer, inner, last. Or some of you are using the box. In fact, I have a lot of you that are. So I'm going to write the box down and go through that step by step here. A couple of you got your boxes and then didn't know what to do with them on a quiz. So let's make sure we know what to do with them once we get them. Okay, so your boxes, you should have had the first 2 terms written across the top, last 2 terms written down the side. Now, you're going to multiply. You're multiplying this term times the term up here at the top. Negative 9x times x is negative 9x squared, because x times x is going to give me x squared. Then you're going to multiply the x times the 8. So you get 8x. Then you're going to do negative 9 times 8. You're going to get negative 72, and then you have your x there. And then you're going to do your 8 times 8, which gives you 64. On your quizzes, I could tell some of you when you got to this point, you were like, I don't know what to do after here, but at least I got this far in life, Miss Chase. Be happy. What? Did I copy it down wrong? Yes. Hold on. We got to go back and fix all of them now then. So negative 9 times 9 makes that negative 81. And 9 times 8 makes that 72. Copied my terms down. Okay. Now, once you get to this point, you're going to add the ones that are alike. So I'm going to write down the negative 9x squared. That stays like it is. But these two are alike, so I'm going to add them. So I'm going to do negative 81 plus 8. This gives me negative 73x. And then plus 72. There's really not much to do once you get to this point, but some of you were like baffled by what to do past that point. So that's what you're going to do there. Okay, number 15. You have 6x squared plus 9 times 6x squared minus 9. And there's a special rule to this, but we're going to multiply it out. So I do 6x squared and 9 on the top. And then this makes that a negative 9. So this is going to be 6x squared and negative 9. Then you're going to multiply. 6 times 6 is 36. What is x squared times x squared? X to the 4th. Okay, then you're going to do your next one. 6x squared times 9 is 54. Oh. Is 54 x squared. And then you're going to do 6x squared times negative 9 is negative 54 x squared. Multiply negative 9 times 9. It's going to give me negative 81. So I have 36 x to the 4th. When I add these two together, I get 0. So then I'm going to just have the plus 81. And then the last one for your test, number 16, it has 9x minus 8, and then it has squared written on that. So you're going to do 9x minus 8 times 9x minus 8. They're questioning, do you know what that means? It means 9x minus 8 times 9x minus 8. Plus a negative, plus a negative. So you do 9x and a negative 8, 9x and a negative 8. Okay, 9 times 9, 81, and that's going to be x squared. 9 times negative 8, negative 72, and you would have an x for that one. Same thing here, negative 72x. And then negative 8 times negative 8 gives me a positive 64. Then you're going to add together. So I've got 81x squared. And then you do negative 72 plus negative 72 gives me negative 144. X plus 64. Notice when I'm adding them, I leave this as an x. This does not become an x squared because I'm adding like terms, not multiplying there. We've got about 3 minutes. I'm going to go over your extra credit. Your extra credit will be like number 18. So look at number 18. Your extra credit will be like number 18. So you have x squared plus x plus 1 times x squared plus 7x minus 6. So if I multiply that out, I'll draw it out like most of you have been doing. I've got x squared, x and 1, x squared, 7x, and negative 6. Okay, I'm going to go column, column, column here. X squared times x squared is going to give me x to the 4th. That's going to give me 7x. That's a 1 and a 2. That's a third. And then that's going to give me negative 6x squared. Now, x squared times x is going to give me x to the 3rd, because 1 and 2 is 3. And then 7x times x is going to give me 7x squared. And then negative 6 times x is going to give me negative 6x. If you look, they're going to go down 4, 3, 2. 3, 2, 1. And then do your last one. X squared times 1 is going to give me x squared. 7x times 1 is going to give me 7x. Negative 6 times 1 is going to give me negative 6. And that one's not going to have a variable on it. Now add your ones that are alike. So I have an x to the 4th. Then I'll add my x to the 3rd. 7 plus 1 is 8x to the 3rd. 7 plus gotta do the 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 plus negative 6 is 2. Whoops, leave that up. So 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 plus negative 6 is 2, so 2x squared. 7x and negative 6x is 1x plus negative 6.